Alright, let's go through this whole Air Venturi debacle, fiasco, whatever you want to call it. Right now I'm just going to take off this little protective cover so I can get at the filter. I just want to show you what it looks like, what Air Venturi tells me I don't need. Which is something that comes installed from the factory, yet they decided not to include it on my second air compressor. This is my third air compressor. The first air compressor I had, same model as this, just ended up doing exchanges, returns, whatever you want to call it. Decided to just piss out black crap, blowing out my burst disc, which scared the shit out of me, to be honest. But it, what do they call it? It spit out combusted oil, which, when I show you in a little bit, if you didn't have a filter installed right in there, that black crap would have probably been in my tank. I can't say for certain, but my guess is from what happened with the first experience of filling tanks without a filter, that stuff would have been in my tank. They tell me it can't make it into my tank, but it was in my fill line. So they're liars. That makes no sense to me. They tell me things that can't happen, but they've happened to me. And they will take no responsibility whatsoever. They blame me. I contacted them. They told me it was my fault for not checking that this filter was installed that I'm about to remove, or about to show you right now. This is the longest screw in history, too. It's just a basic filter. And they're trying to tell me that this thing, people prefer to remove to protect their investment. That's it. Just a basic filter. That's all that comes stock with this. And they're saying people remove this. I don't get it. If someone can explain to me otherwise, I would love to hear it. Pretty much perfectly clean. I've only used this compressor twice. It's basically been too cold to go outside and shoot like crazy until now. That's what it looked like when I got to my second compressor to check the filter. Just empty. Except it was loaded with tons of oil in there. I wanted to throw up. I was actually in shock that I've been using the compressor, which all you hear about is people talking about filters. And then this one doesn't have one. And the whole story just gets flipped on filters now. You don't need them. The only instance where I've heard you might not need a crazy filter like the one I have now is if you live in an area that does not have a lot of moisture. It's very moist here. This honestly made me not even want to get back into PCPs. I wanted to just quit with my returns. But I kept going on because I'm not going to let them screw this over for me. I'm just trying to warn people to not buy anything from these people. I don't even care if it's a gun. Their whole mentality on this, just the principle of it, is enough to make me make this video. And I hope people see it to save them money. That's all it is, just to save you guys money. Don't buy this crap. And the funniest thing was I looked on Amazon too after this. All they do is they steal a Chinese compressor that's made like this. It's just a basic model, and then they throw on a little... They put on that air filter. They put on their water cooling system. Whatever gauges they want, if they... probes and whatnot. And that's it. They take a $600 compressor. They put on this fake carbon fiber shield that probably won't protect you from anything. But, that's all they do. And they charge you $1,000 extra for maybe $200-300 worth of upgrades to it. They pay for the shipping to go back, though. And if you ever buy one of these, keep the box. They do work well when they work. I just can't stand the contradiction from the company. That just makes no sense to me. Alright, let's go over this email from Air Venturi. The complaint filed by Andrew is actively being addressed by multiple teams working together from Pyramid Air and Air Venturi. There are many facets to this situation for us to address, but at no time have we failed to respond to the consumer's request or correspondence. That is correct. They have responded back to me. The part that the consumer claims was missing is actually not a critical component. I'm claiming that the filter was missing, and they don't consider that a critical component to an air compressor. As he has stated, and many airgun professionals and enthusiasts prefer not to install the air filters he is referring to in an effort to reduce the workload effort placed on the compressor. I've been told by a third party that if someone is telling me to remove an air filter because it reduces the workload or effort, it's probably because the compressor can't handle the workload or effort and it's underpowered. Okay. In addition, when the consumer first made contact about the issue, he was supplied with the parts he requested and was informed that his air guns and paintball guns would not sustain damage from using the compressor without the filter. Well, I was supplied with the filter, but I had been using the compressor, so the 5 hours of use was without the filter. That's my problem with this whole thing. They assembled the compressor without installing the air filter in it, and they want to take absolute zero responsibility in that. Even if a water and oil mixture were to infiltrate the air cylinder of one or more of his air guns, it would be expelled during normal operation, and there is very little chance for it to cause corrosion. But there still is a chance, according to that, because he said very little. This because a majority of air cylinders on the market, majority, not all of them, he doesn't know what I own, are made from materials that will not corrode under normal use. Carbon fiber and aluminum. What if I have a steel tank? Carbon fiber is on the outside of the tank, not inside of it. Are internally coated with anti-corrosives. Great. I really don't care. That's a preventative measure. You don't use an air compressor without an air filter. Also, even with the filter installed, it is impossible to prevent some moisture from getting into the cylinder due to atmospheric conditions, i.e. barometric pressure, relative humidity, and temperature. Suffice to say that Andrew's air guns and paintball guns have not sustained damage. I'm glad this guy can tell me, 5-10 years down the road of tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, what the condition it's going to be after using unfiltered air from an air compressor. All right, here's a good one. This is Air Venturi's own user manual for their tanks. So if I followed their instructions, what do they tell me? Use only dry filtered compressed air. I'm being told otherwise in that email. When filling the compressed air cylinder, the compressed air must not contain oil or water or any other contaminant. But yet, that's exactly what was happening to me in those 5 hours. What they tell me goes against their own manual. Make that make sense to me, please. Email number 2. I am going to be very honest. I have about $10,000 in air guns, and I don't have a filter on my compressor. That's insane. I have been using it this way for about 5 years, and I live in Northeast Ohio. I found the filter made my compressor run harder, and I wanted to protect my investment. Let me just stop here and explain how this makes no sense to me, at least. Maybe you can leave a comment and tell me how this makes sense to you if you think otherwise. He has $10,000 in air guns. He wants to protect his investment, which he's referring to his compressor, which if it was mine was $1,600 to $1,800. So if you wanted to protect $10,000 worth of gear, or let me take that back. If you wanted to protect your compressor Why would you put $10,000 worth of gear at potential risk by not running that filter? If you destroyed your air compressor, you lose $1,600. If you destroyed all your air guns by not using a filter on your compressor and you just eat that bill 10 years down the road, you lose $10,000. That makes no sense to me. If you are trying to have no moisture whatsoever in your gun's equipment, you have to have a molecular desiccant sieve. That is the only way, which is what I have now. But wouldn't a molecular sieve cause more resistance than a cotton air filter? At least I'm assuming it's cotton. That's what it looks like. Maybe it's something else, but regardless, I'm assuming it isn't putting as much pressure as a molecular sieve that hits 1,500 PSI before it even allows air through it, so it actually filters properly. Yet, who put this filter on their new air compressor? Oh wait, let's see!
Pressure. And the other big upgrade here is the filtration. So we've added a filter element into this, and this is well used for the folks at home.
Okay.
With activated charcoal in it, which is going to take out any of your odd smells from the oil splash system, and then your desiccant beads inside that's going to suck all that moisture out of the air that's coming through.